April 10th, 2008. A blistering airstrip in Helmand Province, Afghanistan. The back of a British transport aircraft opens, and something unusual rolls out. 4 wheels, open frame, no roof, no doors, no turret shield. Just a heavy machine gun mounted on a ring, and 3 soldiers completely exposed. To the heat, to the dust, to every bullet in the valley. To the men watching from the ground, it looked almost ridiculous, like a desert racing buggy painted in military tan. And in a war dominated by hidden bombs and roadside explosions, Britain had just deployed a vehicle with no roof at all. It didn't make sense. But over the next 15+ years, this silly-looking machine would do something almost unbelievable. It would survive ambush after ambush, patrol some of the most dangerous terrain on Earth, cross over 1,700 kilometers of hostile desert, and keep hunting. This was the Supercat Jackal II, also known as the MWMIK, and it became one of the most debated and misunderstood vehicles of the entire Afghanistan war. To understand why it existed, you need to go back to 2007. British soldiers were dying inside a vehicle called the Snatch Land Rover. It had been built for urban patrols in Northern Ireland, not for war zones filled with buried explosives. Against Taliban pressure plate bombs, it offered almost no protection. Soldiers gave it a brutal nickname: the Mobile Coffin. So the British Army faced a hard truth. They couldn't just build something stronger, they had to think differently. Instead of surviving the explosion, they decided to avoid it completely. That meant leaving the roads, driving into open desert, through dry riverbeds, across terrain no enemy could predict or prepare. They chose speed over armor, mobility over protection, and that decision changed everything. The answer came from a small engineering company in Devon, England. They had been quietly developing a high-mobility vehicle used by special forces. Fast, lightweight, extremely agile. Already battle-tested, but not widely known. Within months, the British military rushed it into service. Then came the upgrade, the Jackal II. Stronger, smarter, built from real combat feedback, a more powerful engine, advanced suspension that could literally adjust its height, low for stability, high for rough terrain. Top speed? Over 135 kilometers per hour. Range? Nearly 900 kilometers. And most importantly, it could go places no armored truck could even dream of reaching. When it hit the battlefield, the reaction was immediate. Soldiers loved it. They called it a dune buggy that could go anywhere. Commanders called it a game changer. And during major operations, like Operation Panther's Claw in 2009, it proved exactly why it existed. Jackal units pushed deep into Taliban-controlled zones, raiding positions, hitting targets, controlling ground that had been completely unreachable before. But the real test came in chaos. September 15th, 2012. Camp Bastion. Taliban fighters breached one of the most secure bases in Afghanistan. Explosions, gunfire, panic. A quick reaction force rolled out in Jackals. Leading them, Sergeant Roy Geddes. Mid-fight, an RPG slammed into his vehicle. Every man inside was wounded. Geddes himself took a bullet to the knee. Most would have pulled back. He didn't. He rallied his team and kept fighting through the night. By sunrise, the attack had been stopped. For his actions, he was awarded one of Britain's highest military honours. But this story isn't just about success, because the cost was real. Soldiers lost their lives in Jackals. Families questioned the design. The media called it dangerous, even a death trap. And they weren't entirely wrong. The Jackal didn't protect like a tank. It wasn't built to. It was built on a different idea entirely. Don't survive the blast, avoid it altogether. Critics compared it to massive American MRAP vehicles, giant armoured trucks built to absorb explosions. But that comparison missed the point. Those vehicles owned the roads. The Jackal ignored them. While predictable convoys followed known routes, Jackal units vanished into the desert. Unpredictable, untraceable. And because of that, harder to kill. After Afghanistan, the Jackal didn't disappear. It deployed to Africa, running long-range patrols deep into the Sahel. It showed up in Eastern Europe, monitoring NATO front lines. It was even sent to Ukraine, where it continues to operate today. And newer versions, the Jackal 3, are already entering service. So yeah, at first glance it looked ridiculous. Open, exposed, under-armoured. But in the harshest conditions on Earth, it worked. Not because it was the strongest, but because it was the smartest. And that's the real lesson here. Sometimes survival isn't about taking the hit. It's about never being there when it happens. If you enjoyed this breakdown, hit like, subscribe, and drop a comment telling me where you're watching from. I'd love to know. And trust me, there's more stories like this coming.